Hello Tech Pros, episode 257. Welcome to the podcast where we explore the opportunities, challenges, and anxieties that technical professionals and techpreneurs face when building their career, building their products, and building their business. This show is about the people behind technology and the mindsets and skill sets they developed that led to their success. You can learn more about this podcast and our guests at hellotechpros.com and about overcoming social anxiety at anxietynerd.com. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Justin Esgar. Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Hey, man, how's it going with you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast, man. I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Justin Esgar filed his patents at conception, and today he is a serial entrepreneur, Mac guru, app developer, conference owner, and speaker who revels in making life better for everyone through technological innovation. Dude, you've got so many things going on. We were kind of briefly chatting before I hit record, and you are a man of many talents. You have so much stuff going on. Like, dude, how do you juggle all this stuff?
Very carefully and with a lot of appropriate prescription drugs. No, it is a lot. It is a lot. But the way the stuff that I do, everything is like a wheel with spokes, right? So my first company is the IT company called Virtual Computers. We're an Apple consulting agency in Manhattan, and that's the center of my wheel, and there are spokes that come out of that. So the first spoke is my software company, where I developed SignMyPad, which was something I developed specifically to use in my IT business, right? It's a PDF signature application, and the story goes that I used to have like these work tickets, and they were filling up my apartment in Manhattan because I was having people sign them, and I wanted to do a digital version of it, and that's how I came up with SignMyPad. So that's spoke number one. Spoke number two then became Appitalize, which is my entrepreneurial consulting / book, which was actually stemmed off of the software company. So that leads back that way. And then the last thing here is the conference, and the conference is ACES conference is all about the business side of IT consulting. And again, that's the spoke that comes back to Virtua, because when I started my business, I only knew how to run my business the way my old boss ran his business, and he didn't run a very good business. So I figured there's got to be a better way to like do things, and that's what stemmed the idea of running this conference. So you can see that all these things are all like intertwined and related. So it's not like I'm, doing IT consulting and on the side I'm a famous painter, right? Like those two are completely irrelevant of one another, but these are all interconnected.
Yeah, dude, I completely feel you with that. So for me, launching Hello Tech Pros was kind of like the initial thing to get my non-working for somebody else, my entrepreneurship stuff started or launched out there. And since then, right, I've started branching off into a lot of consulting and coaching and teaching about social anxiety disorder that affects a lot of people in the tech space. And from there, I'm actually working on an application that helps communication between different parties when it's tough to communicate. So I feel you. It's like one thing leads to another, and that's a great place. That's a great place to be, instead of just being like a one-trick pony, right? There's a lot of complementary business ideas that help each other and not like are competing for your time against each other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like 2-3 years ago, this big concept of like passive income came out, right? Everyone was talking about how to make more money without doing anything. And yes, selling apps and selling books is passive income, but unless all of those things are intertwined, and to be honest, I actually figured all this out after reading Chris Hardwick's book. The guy who does At Midnight, he used to be the host on Singled Out. He talks about this too, the spoke and everything like that, where everything stems from that center point. You have to have that original point to work from. If you're all over the place, you'll never be able to like change your mindset on the fly to do what needs to be done. So it's very easy for me during the day to work on my consulting company, and then if something comes up at the conference, I can easily switch my mindset, not because I've done it for so long, but because it's still in the same little box that I live in,
And the box that you live in is very much around the tech universe, right? The technology universe. But the things that you're teaching and the things that are going on in your conference is not really about the technology. It's more about the business side. And we talked very briefly on the pre-call before we started recording. And I love the concept of what you're doing here, because me personally, way back in the day when I was writing code and IT manager, and almost like all of the people that I've ever worked with, right? We so much want to master our craft. We want to be the best developers possible. We're constantly studying up on technology or technology processes like agile development or whatever, and we think that's the cure. But as you said, like that doesn't do anybody any good if you're not having any clients, right? If you're not selling your business, if you're not selling your product. So tell us about maybe how you got into the business of your conferencing and what's that all about?
Yeah, so the ACES conference, like you said, it's the business side of IT consulting. Having been an Apple consultant for so long, I started working for somebody in 2004, and in 2005 he sold it to another company. In 2008 that company finally decided to let me go, and it was like they let me go on a Friday. That following Monday I was supposed to fly out to Macworld to see the release of the first ever MacBook Air. So this shows you like when it was. And I was like distraught and I didn't know what to do, and I decided to start my own consulting company. And I luckily had very good clients who came over with me and to start me off. And I remember my mom being like, "Are you gonna be able to make at least $75,000 this year doing this?" Because it's 2008, right? It's like the worst recession of recent. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll make 75,000 if you can pay my like rent for my apartment for the next 3 months." But I started that business and I did everything the way my old boss did things, and he didn't really run a very good business. And I was doing things even like all the way down to like how I did my work tickets, right? Like I used the same, people are going to laugh at this, FileMaker form for so long until I learned about other tools like Zendesk and CRMs and all this other stuff. So but when I was running this business, I was saying to myself, like, there has to be a better way. There's all these other consultants. I was a member of the Apple Consultants Network. I met all of these people. How is it that, Joe is making 5 times the amount of money I'm making with less clients, right? There has to be some secret. One of the consultants I know down in Virginia, it's like him and like one other person, and they have like a $1.2 million business. And at the time, my mom was questioning me, like, "Are you gonna make $75,000?" Like, there's a big difference there, right? So after a couple of years of trial and error on my own, and like meeting people and learning from them and stuff like that, I decided that I can't be the only one in this position, because normally if you come up with an idea, you can't be the first. Like, there's very few ideas that people have that they're the first person to think about that idea, right? I'm not saying that you might be the first person to come up with an answer for that, but if you think to yourself, I don't really know how to run my business, there has to be better ways, and you have an entire community of 1,500 plus people that are all running the same type of business, and some of them are doing better and some of them are doing worse, there has to be other answers. So how do I get all of these people in one area? And that was what stemmed the idea for ACES conference. Originally ACES stood for Apple Consultants, Entrepreneurs, and Security. But then the way we developed it is that the ACES can stand for anything depending on whatever the topic is of that particular year, right? So like one year, I think we were joking around, we're like, it's going to be alligators, crocodiles, elephants, and snakes, and no one's going to come. But yeah, so it's exactly what you said, right? Like, so it's all about learning your business. It's all about growing your business. Because you could be the smartest guy in the room, but if you don't have any clients, you ain't getting paid, so it doesn't matter, right? And that's what this is about. So we bring on speakers not only from the world that I'm in, because they're the easiest ones for me to get, like the Apple Consultant people, but I also bring in entrepreneurs, intellectual property lawyers, marketing people from outside the IT world. So like our first year, we had Jason Womack was our keynote speaker, and he does how to like really maximize your time with your business. And last year we had Peter Shankman, who talked about customer service and how to be the best person you can be for your clients. Neither of which talked an ounce about turning on a computer, right? Because they're not computer people, they're business people. This coming year, we have in 2017, we're going to have Mike Michalowicz from the Pumpkin Plan, and he's going to talk about his thing called the Profit First, which is how to like make more profit for yourself as the owner of your company, which again has nothing to do with computers, right? It has nothing to do with IT. It has to do with running a better business. We've had marketing people, branding people. Our first year, this was hilarious. Our first year, we had a branding person up. Her name is Pia Silver from Worst of All Design. And she calls herself, and I'm sorry, a badass brander. So
Nice.
She started her presentation by showing 4 websites on the screen of attendees that were at that conference. She took the logos off, and you could not tell whose website was whose because they all looked the exact same.
Wow.
And you know what sucked? Mine was one of them.
Oh, no.
Like, come on, man. I immediately went home after the conference and like redid the entire website. But yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're trying to attract new customers and you look this, and I live in Manhattan. Well, I live in New Jersey, but my office is in Manhattan now. There's 75 other registered Apple consultants in Manhattan. If you don't know me and you go and you look at my website and it looks the same as 5 other people's websites, there's no way you're going to be able to differentiate me, right? So that was a huge smack in the face for a lot of people because no one really considered that as, you know, part of their brand is part of their business. And again, you know, these are the people who go like, who people call and like, my email doesn't work, my printer doesn't work, how do I do this, how do I do that? And you can give them an answer within 10 minutes. But if you want new customers, there's no way they're going to find you if your website looks the exact same. So I think it was a really good thing. And I've people who have come, I mean, I have attendees who have been like, I don't need to go to any other conference except for yours, which is huge for me, really. And you know, you said earlier that you talk about social anxiety. I do a lot about clinical depression. A year ago, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and I've been taking the appropriate steps to deal with it and stuff like that. And it really did affect my business. So when I hear things like, dude, this is the best conference I've ever been to, and I don't need to go to any other conference, like it really helps me personally because I know that I'm helping all these other people.
Dude, that is so strong. That's so powerful. There's a lot of emotion. I know we're talking about technology, we're talking about business, but really the emotions of helping people and serving people and connecting with people and building that community is phenomenal. I know just launching this podcast, right, where week 1 I had like 20 people a day downloading, and that was like cool, man. I get like 20 people a day. I wonder who they are. And now we're up into the hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds, thousands of people are listening, and it's phenomenal. And it's like, wow, that we're really talking to people. We're building a community, right? We're all learning together. We're all helping each other, and it feels great. So, Justin, I want to pivot this conversation into like the business of starting the conferences, because I think it's a very unique aspect. We've talked on the show about how to start a podcast, how to start a blog, how to start other types of communities where you're gathering people together and talking about a topic. But you've got experience in actually launching your own conferences. And maybe there's other folks out here going to meetup groups, or they're thinking about starting a blog or starting a podcast, but they're listening to you and thinking, man, I want to be like that Justin guy. I want to start a conference about XYZ, whatever topic that they're into. So how did you get started in this area? What are the steps that you take as a beginner?
So first I want to say, don't try to be like me.
Okay. Okay.
Only because like I know what my life is like, and I don't want to wish that on anyone else. No, starting the conference. All right, so starting the conference was, I gotta say, was really tough, and I'm gonna lay it out there. I had a partner the first 2 years and to help out, and then in this coming year, the 2017, he's no longer with the company. But the first year we lost $20,000. Okay. So if right off the gate, if you cannot afford to take $20,000 and put it on your driveway and light it on fire, don't get into conferences unless you're not, I don't want to say super egotistical because that's why we lost the $20,000. I'll explain it in a second. But unless you're more realistic about what you're doing. Here's what happened. Our first year, when I was working with my partner on this, I said, everyone's going to love this conference. We're totally going to do it. And I didn't know anything about running a conference. So we were in New Orleans, and we booked a hotel, and they said, do you want a room block? And I said, what's a room block? And they said, we'll block off a certain amount of rooms for you, and that way your guests get a discount. And I said, great. And they go, how many people are you expecting to attend? And I was like, well, everyone's going to love this idea. So 250, because that was my goal. I wanted 250 people. I got 55. I had to cancel the room block, which cost us $20,000.
Oh.
So had I not done the room block at all, we probably would have been profitable by a couple $100 the first year, but still. And because of that, we had to, cut a couple corners here and there. And while the show went perfectly fine, and anyone who didn't know the inside track thought it was great for someone who's never run a conference before, in reality, I was like, well, this kind of sucks. So I said to myself, I'm going to give myself 2 more tries to make back that money. If the second year I do it, which was this past May, I don't make money, I lose money, we're not going to go for year 3. But if I make money, we're going to go for year 3, and I'm going to try to make that money back. And again, this isn't all about the money, right? This is the idea of the conference isn't about me making money. That's a great side part of it. The point of the conference is to help all these people. But if you don't have the money to do the conference, you can't help anyone. So the second year we did it, we moved to Austin. I didn't take a room block, which bit me in the butt the other way because the hotel ran out of rooms. But we ended up with like 100 or so attendees, and we made about $6,000, which
cool,
not bad.
Yeah,
not bad. So this year our goal, we moved to Phoenix, and our goal is to do 125 people. And we have some really new options coming up. Like we're doing one-on-one business consulting with my business coach and also Mike Michalowicz, and a couple of other like cool things like that. So starting the conference, you have to have a niche for starters, right? Because how many conferences are there that does the business side of IT consulting, right? If you Google search tech conferences, they're all going to be like, learn how to do social media, that's technology. Learn how to code, that's technology.
Right.
Learn how to use terminal, that's technology. There's very few that are going to, if any, they're going to teach you how to run a better business. And the idea here is that we're not just talking about run a better business in general. We're talking about run a better business for an IT consultant. So yes, a lot of the stuff that's discussed, like from the marketers and the entrepreneurs and the non-IT consultants, can be, let's say, generalized for almost any business conference. Is the IT side. We bring in a lot of people who are in the IT world, and they're like, here's how you can use WordPress and forms to generate more leads, and more leads equals more sales. Right? So that's a niche topic that's going very specific to the business side of IT consulting. So you have to start with that. So that's number one, is have a niche to work with. Number 2 is have a friend who's a lawyer who can help you out with things. He'll still charge you, but he won't charge you as much as he would normally charge people. That usually comes in handy. And number 3 is, in order to run a conference, you need to have a large mouth. My mom has been calling me a big mouth ever since I was like 5 years old. And I finally put it to good use, because the way I was able to get these keynote speakers was because I met them because I had a big mouth. I met Jason Womack over Twitter. We met a couple of times in person. We have so much in common. I go to his coffee chats. I was able to bring him in. Peter Shankman, I had a big enough mouth to get myself on Fox Business News, and I was on a panel with him on a show called Risk and Reward, talking about technology, and I think we were talking about like cloning sheep and Facebook. At some point they asked me about Greece, and I was like, I'm not the right person to ask about this. But he was there, and I started a relationship with him from that, and I was able to bring him in for the conference. And Mike Michalowicz, I went out to his consulting company. I used one of his consulting company's coaches, Jennifer Dawn. She's my business coach. She's amazing. And that got me in with him. And it turns out that his business partner knows my friend, the lawyer's boss. So it all kind of like came full circle. So have a big mouth and be able to take, and the fourth thing is take risks. If you're not a risky person, don't do this, because starting a conference, like it drives you insane. It really does. Last year, I had what I call my beautiful mind moment. My dad came over one day to like help me with like a couple things, and we were talking about the conference, and I pulled out all like my whiteboard markers, and I was like drawing all over my windows, and I was like writing numbers, and I was like trying to figure out how wiring's gonna go. And then my wife came home and she looked at it and she thought I had like a stroke. Like, what is
right.
this? What is all over our windows?
You're like, honey, it's genius. This is pure genius right here. This is going to be worth billions of dollars, right? Don't wash the windows, whatever you do.
Right, and like a day later, she's like, "Get it off the window." I was like, "All right, let me take a picture of it first." But like, I mean, that's the that's the kind of thing that has to happen, right? You have to have these moments. And then this coming year, actually, one of my staff members from my IT consulting company actually used to do events. He's helping me like organize all those thoughts. So the first few years we kind of winged it, and then this year we're really doing things like in order and recording what we're doing, so that way if we go ahead for a 2018 conference, we know what to do. So be organized, take risks, have a niche, have a lawyer who's a friend, and go for it.
So a lot of this is a lot like starting any other kind of business, right? Have a niche, have a lawyer, have a big mouth, take risks, be organized. That's great advice that could be applied to a lot of different medias, no matter if you're starting a conference or starting a podcast or starting a consulting business, right? These are great things to have. When you're actually putting on the conference, like, are there things that you're supposed to do or that would have been beneficial for you to know, like pre-conference, and then after that, let's touch on like the day of or the week of the conference, like once you're actually there. So let's start with like the pre-conference. So you have your niche, you have your lawyer friend, you have a big mouth, like you're pitching it, you're willing to take risks, you're a pretty organized person, or at least you're surrounded by organized people, like I try to do. And okay, now we're going to actually plan the conference. Like, what do we need to do to get started? Obviously, we're going to call the hotel and say, not block out 250 attendees until we know that we're actually going to have 250 attendees there. But what are some other things that we need to do while planning in the planning phase of the conference?
So one of the big things about planning a conference is trying to figure out where your money is going to come from, because you need to be able to pay the hotel, you need to pay for food. Is it going to be a 1 day, a 2 day, a 3 day? Our conference happens to be a 2 day, and we offer all meals, including dinner, which is our evening event, the night of day one. So we have to find ways to make that money to pay for all that stuff. So one is obviously ticket sales, right? But when you price a ticket sale, you have to take in consideration the price per person as well. So if you calculate the average food cost per person and other possible expenses, that person might cost you $200. Well, if you're selling tickets for $249, you're not making enough money to do anything, right? So you have to take that into consideration. So that's one. The second thing you really need to take into consideration when it comes to money is sponsorships. So the sponsorships is where you're going to probably make 90% of the money that's going to pay for your conference. The first 2 years we did our conference, we had kind of lame sponsorships where it was like $1,000 gets you a booth, and $2,000 gets you a booth in 5 minutes, and $5,000 gets you a booth in 10 minutes. And the problem is a lot of people were like, why would I pay $5,000? I can get whatever I need to say in 10, in 5. So they would only pay $2,000. So I was missing opportunities there.
Okay. So
this coming year, I redid the entire sponsorship package, and we have like really cool things like sponsor the internet, right? Like we have, you can have your name be the SSID, and you'll have your name on the splash page, or like sponsor lunch, where you can talk to people at lunch, sponsor coffee, where you'll put your logo on the coffee cups, be a speaker, or pay for be a sponsor of the keynote speaker, and the keynote will talk about your product and stuff like that. And also some like little add-ons, like pay a little extra and you'll get tweets, or pay a little extra and you'll be in our in-app You'll have in-app placement, things like that. These different levels. So you have to take that into consideration also, because you also have to take into consideration who you're going to reach out to for your sponsorships, right? So for us, it's pretty easy to hit up sponsors who have software that are trying to get in the hands of clients, but the IT guy is the evangelist for that software, right? So we go after those companies. So just to throw it out there, Parallels has been a wonderful sponsor of ours for the last 2 years. They know that in a company that needs an IT consultant, the people who work there aren't going to go, we need Parallels. They're going to go, we have this program that doesn't work. What do we do? Mm-hmm. The IT guy is going to go, you need Parallels.
You need Parallels. Yep.
Right. So Parallels, the company, is going to come to a conference like mine to get in front of those IT people and be like, this is why you can use Parallels, and so on and so forth. So you have to consider who's going to be your sponsorships, and then target them and attract them with different levels of sponsorship. So that's also another really big thing. Figuring out your meals, that's huge. And then the last big part of it pre-conference is there's two parts. The last two parts is, one is your content, right? Who you're going to get as speakers, because it's not going to be you talking for the next 2 days. No one's going to come hear that. Right. And that includes, your keynote. So get your speakers in your keynote. But the bigger part is marketing. And I've admitted 100 times over that I'm a horrible marketer. So we send, like the mass emails out with like, hey, this is what's happening, or like, this is our keynote, or like, these are the sponsors, or like, did you get in now? Get your ticket now before it's too, like, I have to send one out today because our early bird or early bird or whatever we're calling it, ticket prices end on the 30th, right? Today we're recording. I don't know when this is going to go up, but we're recording today. It's December 8th. So it's one of those things that I have to remember to do that, and I have to get that out there. But you can't like send too many emails, right? Because then you're spamming, and then you have to send enough emails to get people's attention. And what's the rule on marketing? You have to like touch somebody like 10 times before they remember. So like, also my audience, and nothing against them if they're listening, they're not early buyers. So like, most of my ticket sales won't have. Our conference is the end of May. Most tickets won't sell until like March and April. So like, here in December, I'm like, oh, I've only sold like 10 or 15 tickets and I need 125. And I'm like, but they don't buy. I have to remember that they don't buy until March, right? So I can't stress about that. But I have to keep touching them with emails. I hate that saying, touching them.
Right, but we want to warm up those prospects, right? We already have people in our community. Way of saying it. We have people that we communicate with, and we just want to send them reminders. We want to let them know, hey, I'm doing this thing. Hey, I'm doing this thing. Hey, I'm doing this thing. And by, like, as you said, after 3, 4, 5, 10 times, they're like, oh yeah, Justin's got this thing, and you know what? I've been struggling in this area for the past 3 months. Maybe Justin can help me out. I need to go to his conference. Yeah, and then at the last minute, they're like, I don't know, should I not? Should I not? Because we don't like to plan. We don't like to put things on the calendar. We don't like to pay for things until it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's do it right now. The conference is in 3 weeks. Let's book it. Let's get my travel done, right? And then they're going to pay for your ticket, and they're going to book their travel, and then they're going to be there. But it's going to take you on the marketing side many weeks or months leading up to that event before those attendees are ready to commit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing. So I have to remember to like send those emails, and of course then I have to design those emails. Luckily for me, my wife is a creative director and an amazing designer. Nice. So a lot of this stuff has been she does the design work for me when she's in a good mood. So
cool, man. So we've got all our planning. We've planned our meals and our conference, and we got our sponsorships, and we got our speakers and our content. We've marketed, we've sold, and now the day has arrived, and we're there for registration the first day, right? So what do we have to do during the event? We've just got a few minutes left, but what do we have to do during the event to make sure that it goes off, like, not necessarily without a hitch, but it just comes across where the attendees are like, yeah, man, that was definitely worth my time and money to be here?
So as long as you have your schedule and like your technology that needs to be there, like we do dual projectors and Wi-Fi and like whatever, like that's all easy peasy stuff when you really get into it. Day one, get up earlier than the show, because if your conference starts at 8, you should probably get up at 6. If you're like a gym person, go work out for a half hour. I'm not. Get a good meal, get coffee or an iced tea or whatever, and breathe, and just remember that like something will go wrong, but it will be okay. So your job as the showrunner is to make sure things look smooth to the audience. At the end of the day, or the end of the conference, you can go and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened," or "I can't believe we ran out of water," or "I can't believe, this," or whatever. But if the attendees don't see it, it doesn't matter, right? Out of sight, out of mind. So your job the entire time that you're at the conference is to make sure that you're in constant contact with the hotel, with the attendees. You're following what's going on Twitter. You're seeing if anyone has any questions. You're checking your email, and only the email for the conference. I always bring one of my staff members with me to help out. You just have to have and just know, like, you're going to be super stressed, but at the end of the day, you can go have a beer and you'll go to sleep early, and if you're doing a second day, you'll do it all again, or you can go home and you can say, like, this is what I did and I think it was great. And the first year I did this, one of my speakers, who was a friend of mine, said, "Are you doing a post-conference questionnaire?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." So like we walked through a couple things, and I immediately like put something up, so that way at the end of the conference I can be like, "Hey, go check out our post-conference questionnaire and leave us your reviews." And like the feedback I got that first year where we lost $20,000, where things went sour so many different ways. For me personally, I got 10 signups for the following year without having any dates or content for the following year. So I had 20% people ready to return, because the conference, from their point of view, was so good that they didn't see the issues that I saw.
Nice.
And that's what it's about, right? Like, you're putting on a show. It's just like putting on a show in a theater or whatever it is. No one cares what happens backstage, as long as the actors are on stage, they're singing their lines, and their hair is in the right place. No one cares that it took 45 minutes to find the guy's hair, piece or whatever it is, because he got out on stage on time and did what he had to do best. And that's what it's all about. Having the audience see the best possible show.
Right. So it's all about entertaining and educating your audience, keeping them well fed and well hydrated. And as long as those basic needs are taken care of, like, then the job is done. And your job, as you said, is to like abstract all of those details, abstract all of those problems away, where to them it's like a facade, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's perfect. It's like, I live here in Orlando, and Disney is just one big facade, right? It is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It is gorgeous. It is, I mean, oh my gosh, for the holiday season, they've got it decorated out to the hilts. But when I ran my marathon last year and I ran through the backside of Disney, it's like, once you pass like one little wall, then it's like industrial, it's nasty, it's icky, it's not the same. And right. And that's what you're trying to do for the conference guests, right? You're trying to say, hey, look, the speakers are on point, like everything is timed out, like nothing's running late, the food and the coffee is all here, you guys are taken care of. And meanwhile, behind the scenes, like, you are working like a madman, madwoman, and you got a whole team of people like doing all the things to make sure that those attendees don't feel like, oh, something's off.
Yeah, and the best thing to do is, like, during coffee breaks or during lunch, I'll sit down with a couple of people. I'll be like, hey, how are you guys liking everything? Like, is there anything you guys need or whatever it is? Like, you have to really cater to them, because they're the ones who are paying you. And the same with the sponsors. You got to cater to them too, so make sure that they're happy as well. And it is exactly, I think using Disney is the great example here, because of the front end of Disney, it's gorgeous. But if you get like in the back or you go underground, like, it's a whole nother world. And from the conference attendees' point of view, they're at Disney. But from as the conference showrunner, you're in the pits, right? You're seeing it all. You're seeing every last detail.
Cool, so, man.
Yeah. But in the end, I got to tell you, I did, after the first year, just real quick, I'm going to end on this. Yeah. After the first year, I was so proud that I did it, and I was so happy with the result. And my parents have come both years to help me out. and my wife came last year because the first year we had just had a kid, so she couldn't fly down with them yet. But they were so proud of me also to see like that I put this thing together, this thing from nothing. And I say this about all my businesses. I treat all my businesses like they're my child. But now that I have a child, I know what it really feels like. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where at the end of doing something like a conference, it's a little different than running a business, because at the end of the show, you see all these people and they're still talking to one another and they're talking about the topics that happened and they're saying to you that like it was the greatest show ever and blah, 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 blah. It just puts such a good feeling in you that like you just say to yourself like, you know what, I may have lost money, but this was freaking awesome. And that's what it's about.
Nice. And it's an investment, right? So maybe that initial loss, right, was just a short-term loss, but hopefully in the course of multi-years, as it's helping you acquire more clients, as it's helping you build more sponsorships, better your conference in future years, right? That was just like, we all have pain points. We all have lessons learned in whatever technology or business or activity that we're in. We all make mistakes. And so maybe your mistake that you made can not only drive future results, but also help our audience today. Justin, before we leave, can you share the best way that we can get a hold of you and join your conference if we want to go learn about the business side of IT consulting, the business side of being a technology consultant?
Yeah. So for that, go to acesconference.com or acesconf.com. They're both the same. To reach out to me, it's just my name, Justin at justinesgar.com. Go to the website, justinesgar.com, at Twitter, at justinesgar. I'm always open. And if any of your if any of your listeners want to come to the conference, as soon as we get off the recording, I'm going to go set up a promo code. We'll do Tech Pros, and you'll get $75. You will do $75 off whatever the ticket price is at that particular time.
Nice. So I will put a link in the show notes page. This will be hellotechpros.com/237 to get access to the show notes page for this episode. And we'll have a link to the conference sign up, the registration, as well as that promo code TechPros to get $75 off the next conference. Justin, thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. This was a really awesome conversation that we have not had on the show before about starting up a conference in the tech space and all of the business things that you have to do to run the conference, as well as all the, logistics things that you have to do to get it started up. Once I heard it, I was like, my wife would be amazing at this. She would be fantastic. I'm going to have to, if I ever go into that area, hire her as my coordinator to put all this stuff together. But now you've got some great tips on how to get it started, and I really appreciate that.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm here to help.
Cool, man. Tech Pros, if you are a consultant, if you're a freelancer, if you're a technical professional who's thought about starting your own business, I've got a free 7-day Start Your First Business course, email and audio course. You can go to hellotechpros.com/start. But once you get into it, once you're running your business, man, it's not about the technology anymore. It's not about the servers. It's not about the SaaS. It's not about all that stuff. It's about connecting with your customers. It's about growing your business and doing the business activities and not the technology activities. So go check out Justin's conferences and all of his information that we've got linked up in the show notes, because I think that's what is missing in a lot of people's businesses, a lot of technical professional businesses, is you're focused too much on the technology and not about the marketing, not about the customer relationship, not about the business side of business. So go check out justinesgar.com and all of the stuff that he's got at the ACES conference. And good luck to you. You've been listening to Justin Esgar. I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/257. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If this episode helped you out in any way, please leave a review on iTunes and let me know what you thought. iTunes reviews helps our rankings, which helps us grow the Hello Tech Pros podcast to a broader audience, which helps more technical professionals and techpreneurs build their career, build their products, and build their businesses. If you are a subscriber and get repeat value out of this show, consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon. The information on this podcast is free to everyone, but I'm giving you the opportunity to pay for the value you get out of it, starting as little as $1 a month. Pledge your support today at patreon.com/hellotechpros or visit hellotechpros.com/sponsor.